Everyone, or good morning or good evening. I think we'll slowly start off this webinar. I know there are still some people joining us, but at least like that we can get started for those that were here on time today. Thank you for joining our first webinar for this new recruitment season for our full-time programs, the Master in Management and MBA Intake 2023. I'm going to share my screen now. But before I do that, just to make sure you can all hear me, and also that you know how to work at the chat function at the same time, just to warm up your fingers a bit. Can you maybe put in the chats where you're all from? I would love to see a bit where everyone is coming from. I see two hands up, but I don't know if that's because there's a problem or if you put it in the, you put it in, so Ritik was from India, but living in Berlin, okay. Because effectively there's a Q&A or the chat, so I don't know if anyone's got anything else in the chat just to make sure it's working for you all. I haven't seen anyone putting anything on chat, or maybe it's not possible. Maybe you have to put it in the Q&A. It might be that the chat's disactivated. So we'll just, I'm assuming that's the case then. Right, well, thank you all for joining, and let's get started on this webinar. Let me share my screen and then we get going. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we're going to look mainly at the full-time MBA and the Master in Management here at MSM. And before we go into detail, I just want to introduce to you my colleague and myself. So my name is Hermina. I am the manager of the Enrollment and Career Services team at Maastricht School of Management. And I'm also an alumnus of the Executive MBA program. And so I'll be talking to you today, explaining a little bit about the Master in Management and the Full-time MBA, and giving you a bit more insight into what it's like studying at MSM and what the difference between the two are, so that you can make a better choice for yourself. Alina, maybe you can just introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all here. My name is Alina Prapagic. I am the recruitment officer at MSM, and I am in charge of the Master in Management and the Full-time MBA, so the on-campus programs. And most probably, if you are interested in submitting an application, I will be your first contact to advise you and to guide you through the whole process. And today I will also handle the Q&A chat. So let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, so thanks to the chat being disabled, apparently, at least you've all found the Q&A chat section. So throughout the session, if you've got any questions, Alina will be monitoring that. If I say something, but I go too fast through it, don't hesitate to just put it down there on the chat. Alina will answer it, in the Q&A box. And then, you know, throughout the session, if there's something that pops up in your mind that you thought about that you want to ask, the Q&A is there for that. Okay, oh, I think maybe the chat has been disabled. Okay, it's working again. Perfect. So let's start a little bit with the topics of the day. So like I said, we'll start a little bit about general information about MSM, who we are, where we are, and then we'll give a little bit more information about studying in the Netherlands, because it's one of those amazing countries to study in, but not always as well known as some of the bigger countries like the UK or USA that people normally associate with when they think about going abroad. We'll talk a little bit more about the MSM experience, so the differences and similarities between the two programs. And so we'll be going into the actual programs, about the type of students, so their profiles. Then I will discuss a little bit the career and personal development track, which is the same for both. And then a little bit about the return on investments, even though that's not the main focus today. At the end, we will cover the practical information, scholarships, pricing, and things like that. And then we will still have another round of Q&A. So if anyone still has some additional questions, don't hesitate to ask them at that moment. Just want to highlight again, today is more sort of like a broader overview of the differences between the Master in Management and the MBA. Throughout the year, we will be doing some more specific webinars where we will focus just on the Master in Management or just on the MBA, or just about career services. So there will be different webinars coming up. And so if you are interested to follow more, don't hesitate to keep an eye out for those. And they'll be coming up in the new year. Right. Let's start with the general information. So a little bit of just about MSM, who we are. Well, we are one of the oldest business schools in the Netherlands. We were founded in part of the Netherlands called the Delft in 1952. So for those of you that are good at math, we celebrated our 70-year anniversary this year. And from the beginning, we have specialized just in management and business administration, and then any topic surrounding those focus. But what made us a little bit different to a traditional business school is that we have from the beginning been focusing on that sustainability element and the capacity building element, and between bridging the gap between the developed world and the emerging world and learning from both sides. We also obviously have all the accreditations that you need to make sure that your degree is recognized worldwide. And thanks to the recent merger with the University of Maastricht, which has always been our neighbor, we now are one of the 1% of business schools in the whole world that have the Triple Crown accreditation, which means that we have AACSB, AMBA, and EQUIUS, plus the Dutch accreditation called NVO. So at least from a quality side, you can be completely reassured that your degree will be recognized worldwide. Additionally, always just good to know, but from a rankings perspective, our MBA and our Master in Management regularly ranks really well, and so we're very happy about that. But in the end, I always say that this is less important than the accreditations, because the ranking is a bit of a marketing tool, while the accreditation is the one that's going to be really important to help you secure a good job in the future. Now, what's new in 2022 is that since September, we moved into a new campus that was completely renovated. It's the first university that in, I think, the whole of Europe that is a well-certified university. So everything is sustainable at the university. And it is an absolutely beautiful campus. So it's something to look forward to if you do decide to come join MSM. Lots of trees and deer and birds and parks, and it's incredible. Anyway, so we're enjoying our new location. And also, obviously, the students get access to the larger University of Maastricht facilities, including the sports center, study rooms, the library, the language center, etc., etc. So just to give you a little bit of the background on that, MSM remains a business school, individual business school within the bigger setting of the university. Now, a little bit more about studying in the Netherlands. For those of you that aren't that familiar with the Netherlands, first thing to know is that the Netherlands is in Europe, and it's actually quite central in Europe, because if you zoom out on that Europe card map, you'll see that it's very connected with all the main European countries. And specifically Maastricht, where we are, and I'll show it on the next map, but we are squished in between Belgium and Germany, which means that we are very centrally located from all the big cities in Europe. I think Brussels is an hour away, Amsterdam's 2 hours away, Germany, the Frankfurt is 2.5 hours away, London is 3 hours away, Paris is 3 hours away, so it is all very, very connected. So that's one of the reasons why the Netherlands is such a useful place to study. Another thing that not a lot of people know, but the Netherlands is one of the top 5 education systems in the world. Because of its unique teaching methods that's been recognized worldwide as being very practically oriented. It's a problem-based learning, so you learn by applying your knowledge. And at MSM, we've taken that even further, and I'll talk about that in a later slide. Obviously, also the degrees that you get from the Netherlands are recognized for its high quality. But unlike some of the other some of the other countries, the value for money that you get for these degrees is still within reason in comparison to the same degree in the UK or the USA. And then obviously the Netherlands also has some scholarships, which does make it interesting. The Dutch culture is another reason why it is quite a nice place to study in. The people are always very friendly, very open-minded, very tolerant. The hierarchy is very flat. It sometimes takes our students to get a bit used to that, where they can just talk to the professors, even on a first name basis, or their bosses. If they go to with an idea, if they think the boss is saying something that's not good, they can just go and approach them on that. And so it is that's something that students always find very refreshing when they arrive. And then also the Netherlands is quite well known for its innovation mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, forward thinking, sustainable mindset. All of that is part of the Dutch culture. Additionally, quite interesting to know is that if you do study in the Netherlands for 1 year's program, you can apply for what they call an orientation year permit. The orientation year permit will allow you to stay in the Netherlands after your studies for 1 year. This has offered students a lot more options when it comes to career prospects. And so our students have done very well in finding jobs after their studies, partly also because of this orientation permit that gives them more options. And then finally, the Netherlands is known as one of the countries that has the best work-life balance in the world. And because of that, they also were ranked as one of the happiest countries in the world. And so that's something students always notice when they come to the Netherlands, is how well the people balance their work and their family time. Now, Maastricht itself, as I've mentioned, is sort of squished in between Belgium and Germany. So it's 10 minutes away from Belgium and 20 minutes away from Germany. And from a location perspective, it's a really beautiful city. Students always say that it's small enough to feel at home, but big enough never to get bored. Partly because it's very international. So because you've got on the border of Germany and Belgium, there's a lot of movement and cultures mixing within Maastricht. You can bike everywhere. All our students, one of the first things they get is a bike, but additionally, the public transport is very easy to use. It's very safe, so you immediately feel at home there. And additionally, just from shopping, entertainment, history, culture, there's a lot of different things to experience while you're in Maastricht. Additionally, because we're heading towards that now, it is really magical around Christmas time. So the Christmas market, it really feels like a fairy wonderland. And then also very practical, but very interesting for the students is that everyone speaks fluent English in Maastricht, partly because of its international location. So that is quite an easy and important element to consider. Right, a little bit more now about the actual programs, because that's more important. So regarding the programs, I already mentioned that the Netherlands is famous for its problem-based learning. At MSM, we do take that one step further. We do it on case-based learning. So I know in a lot of business schools that's also important. It's business learning by discussing real cases. And so the assignments, the group works, it's often around how companies are experiencing it in real life. And this can often be done even more by actually having a company visit a company, giving the students a case to discuss and work on, or having a guest lecturer from one of these companies or an expert on the topic coming to talk to them about the situation and discussing it with them. And in some cases, we also do some simulation games. And this is an excellent way to get this real life experience in a simulated way to really test you to your knowledge in a very applicable way. Now, regarding the two programs, and this is where I want to talk a little bit more about the differences. We've got the Master in Management and then the MBA. Like I mentioned, for the MBA today, we're focusing on the full-time MBA. So we're not focusing on the executive and the online MBA. That would be another webinar. But the Master in Management is designed for students that are slightly younger. So on average, our students have about 2 years of working experience, between 1 and 2 years of working experience, and it's up to a maximum of 3 years working experience. While for the MBA, it's the opposite. It's from 3 years onwards. There's no maximum amount of experience for an MBA. And the average working experience is about 8 to 10 years. Also, the nationalities, we have students coming from all over the world, and the job areas, it's also very, very varied. So in that case, there's not too much difference, but the big difference is when it comes to the experience. We really notice that well, it's done on purpose. The master in management for people, the young, high potential professionals that want to move up that career ladder quicker, but that don't have that much work experience yet. Well, the MBA, it's often the people that are already in the mid-career and would either like to change and work in an international environment, or break the glass ceiling, or maybe start their own business. So, and that's also based on the fact that they have more experience. So those are the main differences between the Master in Management and the MBA from a profile perspective. When we look at the curriculum, there are some similarities, because initially, the MBA, the Master in Management, was created based on our MBA. We had the MBA already for, it's now next year to be the 40th year that our MBA has been going on. And so we'd been doing it for a very long time. And we realized that obviously there's a gap in the market for young, high potential candidates that are not experienced enough for an MBA, but that can still benefit from that management and business experience. And so we created a course that is more focused on those people. And so you'll see there's a lot of courses that overlap. Both courses will cover finance and economics and accounting and managing cultural diversity, entrepreneurship as well in both cases, strategy, marketing, digital transformation, and decision-making tools are in both programs. The way they are taught will be different, because a professor teaching a Master in Management students will obviously assume that they've got less experience. So there'll be a slightly different approach to the teaching methods to the way they would teach an MBA class. But the courses, the core courses, the topics covered are the same. From a Master in Management curriculum perspective, there are a few things that I want to highlight that make it unique. And the first one is, well, just the fact that at MSM, we really focus on what we call the 3 pillars of our degree. And that's for the Master in Management and for the MBA. So the first one is the pillar of sustainable development. And we do that in both programs in various ways. We also do it a lot with extracurricular activities. The second pillar is entrepreneurship and innovation. And then the third pillar is the Industry 4.0 and the technological revolution that we are all experiencing at this moment. And so, as you can see, one of the overall ones is the managing cultural diversity, which we believe is important for both programs to have. But then the Master in Management will also have the course in data analytics that an MBA student won't have, but they will both have digital transformation of business and entrepreneurship. So these are the key core courses that we will want in both programs to just really get that feeling of the basis of what MSM is about. But where it's different is that the Master in Management have then several additional subjects to get that hands-on experience that they might be lacking in experience. So a Master in Management student will get an extra workshops called the Personal Development Portfolio, and throughout the year that they get workshops on these personal and interpersonal skills. They also will do a small group company project where they work with a company on a specific issue, and the students in the Master in Management also get a supply chain project. So those are the some of the differences. Additionally, the Master in Management's thesis is more of an academically based thesis only, and the Master in Management is slightly less credits than the MBA. It's a 60-credit program. For the MBA, as I've mentioned, the 3 pillars will be visible again, and some of those courses that I highlighted just now are there as well: corporate responsibility and ethics, is something that the MBA have as a core course, while the Master in Management is one of those additional projects I've mentioned. And then there is the digital transformation and the entrepreneurship and the decision-making tools. Now, decision-making tools is the next level version of data analytics. So it's how to use the data analysis to make decisions. And then the same as with the Master in Management, there's also the Managing Cultural Diversity course. And often we start off with the Managing Cultural Diversity course because we have students coming from all over the world, and it's sort of the first course we want them to have to make sure that there is an understanding towards one another and a sensitivity towards that cultural diversity, so that the year can really move well forward in a positive way. So some of the differences for the MBA in comparison to the Master in Management is after the MBA has done all the core courses, they get to do an expertise track. And so this expertise track is a 2-week period, the end of the study year, so in the end of June, July, where the students will get 4 extra courses in one of the expertise tracks that they would have chosen. So if, for example, you choose entrepreneurship as your expertise track, you'll get 4 additional courses focusing on entrepreneurship. If you choose digital economy, you'll get 4 extra courses focusing or revolving around the digital economy theme. So this is very important because this is a way that you can still make your MBA a little bit more specific to your career, to your interests, so that when you are finished with your studies, you can also then go into the career direction that you want to. Additionally, for the MBA, one of the big differences is that the students can write an academic paper, which is the traditional research paper that would be done at most universities. But we've also 2 other options that MBA students can do. So the first one is the business consulting project, which is basically students work as an external consultant for a company and then work on a specific issue for the company on for their thesis, and then they will make recommendations to the company based on the research and experiences and observations that they've made. And then there's the business plan. And the business plan is if you have an idea of maybe one day starting your own company, then you'll be guided through doing the proper research to be able to develop this idea further. We added in a 4th option last year, is a global social and economic impact project. This can also be done using one of the 3 formats I mentioned above, but then it will be really specific to a topic that we highlight as having social and economic impact, like water management or food and waste management and topics such as that. So there are several topics listed on our website regarding that. And if you do want more information about that, don't hesitate to contact us. Additionally, as I've mentioned, the MBA is 70 credits rather than 60. So it is a bit more intense than the Master in Management. The MBA students also get a few extras. This is also because it is a much more expensive program than the Master in Management. So the first one is that they get an extra innovation week. In this innovation week, they will get hands-on workshops on agile planning and service design. Both of these topics are very important here in the Netherlands, and it's once again to help with the future career, international career within Europe or internationally. And then additionally, for the MBA, we also have a mentorship program where the MBA students are linked with local business partners to guide them and help them about how business is done here in the Netherlands. And we actually have the first kickoff of the mentorship program this week, where the mentors will be meeting our new MBA students. And so we're looking forward to that. Now, a bit more about the students, as I've mentioned. The first thing is that our full-time MBA class size, it varies, but it's more or less 35 students. Some years we have 32. This year we've got a little bit more than 40 students. So each year it's more or less in that range. We don't want to go higher than 45 because we want to keep that interactive nature of the MBA. So there is a cutoff limit at 45. And we have a very, very international program of students coming from all over the world. And that's the same for the Master in Management. And this is something very important for us because when I say international, I don't mean just students coming from Europe and in some of the main countries that you will traditionally see in a business school. We have students coming from countries that I personally had to Google before starting. And so you literally just get to be exposed to cultures that you would never have met in your traditional work environment. And so it's part of the reason why the program is so exciting. And so because of that, I've mentioned it's not only the international backgrounds, but it's also the study backgrounds. Because for our MBA and for our Master in Management, you don't need to have a background in economics or in business. In fact, for us, it's the opposite. We strongly believe that management is present in every form of business. You need good managers and you need people that understand business and need that holistic view, whether it is in IT or in marketing and or in a health dental office. You know, it's all the options are possible. You will still need good or bad good management to make it successful. And so because of that, we don't exclude any specific backgrounds. We actually want that diversity so that you can really learn from one another's perspectives. You can really get a new way of thinking about doing some things. And that's just typically if you're in a class just with engineers, you're going to think like an engineer. But then if you throw in a lawyer and a finance expert and a marketing officer, you're suddenly going to get a much richer experience. So that's also part of the diversity. It's not just the nationality, it's also the diversity of the backgrounds. Now, I did mention in the beginning the career and personal development track. And this is something that we've invested in quite heavily over the last few years, because we know that the students often decide to do a full-time program because they want to grow their career. So it's a lot of personal financial investment and quitting jobs or leaving your home country, leaving your family, your cats and your dogs. I know in some cases, students sell their apartments and their cars to be able to come. And so there's a lot of writing on that. And so we have tried to create this career and personal development track, which has 3 different pillars. So the first pillar we focus on is the personal development focus. Another pillar we focus on is the actual career skills. And the third pillar we focus is on that networking and that social activities. And so all of these activities are extracurricular, but so it's optional, but it will help you prepare for the job market. And so under the skill development, the career skills, you'll get workshops such as interview techniques, CV writing, motivation letter writing. For the personal development part of the track, you'll get workshops on career planning, on psychometric testing, on improvisation skills, so things that's going to help you develop more to be able to do your job even better. And then from the social development side, we have movie nights, themed movie nights, we have debate nights, we've got sustainable development weeks. So all different ways to get you also interactive with other companies, alumni, and even other students. And then finally, we also additionally have this job searching support that once you participate in all of this track, we can provide you with the support of helping with reviewing your CV, helping you with preparing for the interview by doing a mock interview together. We have various job platforms that our students can find jobs on. And every year we have the corporate week, which is a bit the highlight for the students. And in the corporate week, we invite companies, lots of companies to come talk to our students. It's not a job fair, it's a really one-on-one where these companies come and talk to the students in a class setting, often workshops, presentations where students can ask their questions and really get a good feel for what the company is like, what the company is looking for, and get a better feel for what's out there for them. And that happens every year in June, July, and we do it with our alumni as well. And so it's a great way also to interact with our alumni. All right, we also have some student challenges. So every year we also do extracurricular activities. One of them is, for example, we've got the MSM Sustainable, the SDG Challenge. We have the University SDG Challenge. We have the European Future Tech Challenge. We're busy working on another workshop, which we're going to be launching next year in January on a climate flex, so about a climate action challenge. And so throughout the year, we are helping students to get in contact with companies or with other students or with our alumni. And it's focusing on really important topics at the moment, like the Internet of Things or the Sustainable Development Goals. And it's to really help students to connect with all these different networks while they're here at MSM. But they do this then in a very hands-on way. So really applying what they've learned in class then to these real situations with these real companies. And so we also challenge them to think a bit outside the box. And then, of course, they have to pitch their ideas to a jury. And so it's also a great way to improve your pitching skills. So to summarize a little bit this section, when we get to the how, in a nutshell, whether it's the MBA or the Master in Management, how it can help you. There's several ways. The first one is obviously the curriculum. So by getting a very general view of business, a very holistic view of business and management, it's going to help you to really be more relevant in whatever job you do, because you're going to understand, if you're in finance, you're going to understand how the marketing is going to affect your business. So the same if you're in supply chain, you're going to understand how the legal part of everything could make an impact. So you get a much better view of the whole impact of value chain. And also you get to specialize. And so the specialization will really help you, especially for the MBA, help you to focus a bit more your career for the future. I've mentioned the hands-on learning. That's something we're very proud of. It's something we take very seriously. And so it helps also with problem-solving skills and creativity, which is in a high demand at the moment in the workplace. Now, I didn't talk too much about the assignments, but I will take this moment here to mention that. At MSM, we have moved away from exams. We believe that students learn much more by applying theory and knowledge, by giving their own opinions, looking into it, researching it, and then writing about it, rather than just doing parrot work and, filling in a question sheet off by heart. So for each course, at the end of the course, there's an assignment. And so this assignment is really important because it's going to help with this active learning and this critical thinking that is so important. You're going to not only just learn to absorb the information, but you learn to think about it and then apply it to a situation. The second thing that's important is the group assignments. So in many of the courses, there's an additional group assignment. For the group assignment, it's going to teach you skills such as teamwork and communication skills, and influencing skills and leadership skills. So all of these skills is going to be very, very useful once you have finished your degree and looking to integrate into a team. Also, as I've mentioned, for the Master in Management, there's the Personal Development Program, and for the MBA, through the Career and Personal Development track, as well as for the Master in Management, there is also the Career and Personal Development track. We constantly work on creating and improving that self-awareness and the soft skill development, so that once you know where your strengths and weaknesses lie, you work through this throughout the year to be a better version of yourself after your studies. Throughout the year, you'll be working on making a lot of presentations and pitches. So these pitches are going to really help you once again on being more effective and being able to convince people more easily about your ideas. And then, as I've mentioned, one of our highlights is the diverse international class, which is going to bring in that new perspective. It's going to help with sensitivity towards cultural awareness. It's going to help in working with different types of people and in coordinating interdepartmentally after your studies. Because both programs are a one-year program, it is also a very intense pressure cooker. I don't want to underestimate that. It is basically a 2-year program that's been squished into 1 year, because we know that students don't have a lot of time. It's a lot of money to come study abroad. And so in that 1 year, it's going to be very, very intense. But thanks to this intense environment, it's going to make you extremely capable in managing stress and time, and in being very adaptable to any situation after your studies, which is one of the most searched for skills in the workplace today. And then, as I've mentioned, throughout the year, thanks to Career and Personal Development track, you'll be getting practical tips and workshops for your career, and also helping with establishing a new network here in the Netherlands. So now we have time for the practical information, and then obviously also some extra questions if there are any. So firstly, from a practical perspective, the costs. So the MBA is 28,500 euros, and the Master in Management is 16,000 euros. There are scholarships available, but the scholarships can be combined, but to a maximum of 40%. The ones that are the most interesting for you is the early bird discount, since most of you that have joined today, if you are planning to join this year, it's good to know applications have opened earlier this month. And our early bird discount runs until the 1st of May, but by then you need to be admitted and paid 25% of the net tuition fee. So for the early bird discount, you're one of the real early birds by being here today. And so thanks to that, it's if you don't wait too long, you can make the most out of that and get the discount that's automatic if you apply and pay on time. The Dean's Development Fund is also something that's automatic. It's our way of helping the emerging markets. So there's a discount for specific countries. The only condition in return is that obviously we like to hear our students share their stories through blogs or videos or articles. And so we just ask for you in return to participate with any activities we're doing in that sense. And then finally, from the other scholarships that are more, I would say, merits based, would be the academic excellence scholarship. So if you've done really well at school or at university, and you are very good overall, say now you've got a really good GMAT or a really good IELTS test, or you've got a really good career progression, you've done lots of other trainings, it's definitely worthwhile looking into the academic excellence. In general, we look at all-rounders, so it's not just having excellent marks, it's about that whole all-rounder experience. So we look at that. There are only a few available per program. Same thing for the Women Ambassadorship. So if you've done things to help break the bias or work towards gender equality, and then there's a scholarship for that you can apply for by writing an essay. In a similar way to the Women Ambassadorship, if you've been very active in working towards the Sustainable Development Goals, either at school or at university or in your current job, or maybe you do it as a volunteer, but there's a scholarship available for that as well. You have to write an essay explaining how you have been involved in working towards the Sustainable Development Goals. So all of these scholarships can be combined, but then to a maximum discount of 40%. Finally, just from an application procedure, you would need to go to our portal, application portal, campus.msm.nl. Once you're there, you'll need to upload several documents. It's not too complicated. As I've mentioned for the CV, just make sure that for the MBA, you have enough work experience, so minimum of 3 years. You need to have a recognized bachelor degree, so you need to upload that. If you've got any doubt, you can send an email to our admissions office. It's in the next page, so I'll in the next slide, I'll share that email address with you. So don't hesitate to contact them. You need to submit a proof of English, so either IELTS or TOEFL. There are other versions of English that we also accept, but my colleague Alina will be posting that, the proof of English requirements. If you studied in English, it depends on which country, and otherwise we sometimes just request an additional Duolingo test, for example, if you studied in English. And then your passport is very important. And then we get to the recommendations. So for the master in management, it can be professional or academic, and for MBA, it's only professional recommendations. And then for the motivation letter, we require, that's something we look at very strongly, is the personalization of the motivation letter. So we have guidelines online on our website, which really mentions the topics and the themes we want you to cover in the motivation letter. It really also explains how many pages, the type of font, but this is something that's really important. If you want us to take your application seriously, please go and read that. It can make a big difference in those that get a scholarship and those that don't. So please make sure that you go through that. There's an application fee of 95 euros. And once you've paid this and you've uploaded all these documents, then it gets reviewed by our admissions office. Once our admissions office have reviewed it, if all the documents are correct, they will send you a request for an interview. During that interview, it will be done with 2 MSM staff members or faculty. The important thing is it goes both ways. It's a good opportunity for you to make sure that MSM is a good fit for you. But also, very importantly, we obviously need to make sure that that you are a good fit for us. So in that interview, it's a two-way process to really make sure that we are both happy with one another. And then after that, if everything has gone well, you will get the admissions committee will review the final application, and you will then get informed on whether you've been admitted or not. If you're admitted, and if you haven't yet done your GMAT or your GRE, so this is important because it's something you can do after receiving your conditional enrollment or admissions. Once you receive that admissions letter, but you haven't yet done the GMAT or the GRE, you've got a choice. Either you do the GMAT or the GRE, and the GMAT or the GRE, the advantage of that is obviously it gives you access to several different universities. So if you are hesitating about where to go, then doing this would be a much safer, a much better option, rather than each time having to do the in-house solutions by the business schools. Another advantage of doing a GMAT or the GRE is obviously, since it is an internationally recognized standard, it's also easier to recognize from a scholarship perspective whether a student really has a high academic excellence or not. So if you have a very good GMAT score, you'd have obviously a big chance of being considered for the academic excellence. But we've awarded it to people without GMAT before in the end, so it's not a deal breaker, but I'm just saying it is one of those advantages to consider. On the other hand, if you're not planning to do the GMAT or the GRE because you're like, no, MSM is the place for us to be, we want to be studying there, then we do have an alternative to the GMAT. So instead of doing the GMAT, you would need to complete before the start of the semester at MSM, so before September 2023, you would need to complete the 4 leveling courses. And that is also one of the reasons why we can admit people coming from all different backgrounds. It's because we will then cover some of the key important courses in a base level to make sure everyone starts with the same foundation. So it will cover finance, economics, accounting, and statistics. And so these 4 leveling courses are an alternative if you're not planning or don't have the opportunity to do the GMAT. Okay, and I'm sure some of you will have questions about that. Don't hesitate to ask either Alina or the admissions office once you're in the process of being admitted into MSM. Right, so a little bit more information, just if you do want to follow up with us afterwards. Firstly, we've got 2 recruiters today. Alina is here, so you can contact Alina because obviously you've met her. Or Inka, my colleague, is also available for questions. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact either Alina or Inka. As I've mentioned, the admissions office is there as well to help you. So anytime during your admissions process, don't hesitate to reach out to them if you need them just to review your bachelor degree, or if you've got any questions about the process, don't hesitate to contact them. Alina and Inka also, by the way, do CV checks. So if you're not sure if your CV is better for Master in Management or MBA, just contact Alina and ask Alina, hey, Alina, what do you think about this? Should I rather apply for MBA or should I rather apply for Master in Management? Because we do understand there's a sort of like a gray zone between the 3 years, you know, because we go to 0 to 3 for Master in Management and 3 onwards for MBA. And so sometimes you might be on the border between the two. Just reach out to Alina. She'll have a Zoom call with you and discuss this with you in person and go through the CV with you, and then just help you decide what would be the better fit. Often we look at your ambitions, we look at your experiences to help see what would work better for you. What we also recommend is to go out and reach out to some of our students and find out how they experienced or are experiencing MSM. And so we have a chat function on our website where your message will go directly to one of our students. We don't intervene in that. We don't even see the messages. It should be between you and them. And you can ask them what their experiences have been about studying in the Netherlands. Also, we've lots and lots and lots of videos on YouTube about the classrooms, about the students, about the experiences, about some of the fun things we've done. So don't hesitate to go check out our YouTube channel. Same thing for our website. There's a lot of information on there. And then we regularly update our social media pages, especially Instagram, with all the things we're doing. So if you just want to get a feel throughout the year about the activities that our students are experiencing, just follow us on social media. And then finally, as I've mentioned, this is the start. This is the first webinar of the 2023 recruitment year. And we will be doing many more next year. There's going to be some fairs. We're going to travel the world, some Alina, Inka, and myself, to meet with potential candidates. So if you're interested in meeting us, and if we are in one of your countries, just reach out and we can set up a meeting with you. And we also have master classes where we actually have our professors talking about or giving a master class on a topic that's relevant. And I think the first one that's coming up is in about 2 weeks' time. It's our economics professor who's going to be talking about the inflation at the moment and the effects that it's having on the economy. So that could be quite a nice way also to see how we teach at MSM and whether this is the type of approach that you would find interesting. So if you want to know more about that, you can check our website, the page on events and news and blogs, and then you'll get more information on what's coming up. Right, I think that covers everything from my side. So let's go through to the questions and answers. I'm going to stop the screen sharing, and then Alina, maybe you can let me know whether anything that is worthwhile repeating or any questions that we should go through together.
Let me quickly check because we had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
1 second.
And while Alina checks that, if anyone else has any other questions, this is the moment to also put them in the chat or in the Q&A section so that we can look at that.
Well, Pratik had a very interesting question. Could you please mention the average post-MBA salary at MSM?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, that is a very difficult question to answer, simply because we have students that come from various different backgrounds doing various different things afterwards. Also, some go back to their home countries, and so they earn very little in comparison to if they'd stayed in Europe. Also, for example, the different industries. So if you went into steel industry or oil and gas industry, there's nearly a 1,000, 2,000 euro gap in the average price range for an MBA or a Master in Management student. So I find it very difficult to give an exact answer, especially since it might create expectations that will not be realistic based on your specific case. So normally what I then recommend is if you want to have a better idea is we can have a one-on-one discussion and discuss more about your career plan and see how that would look here in the Netherlands, whether it's something that's a good fit for you or not. But if I had to say like a very average starting point, I would say for a master in management student, it would be somewhere between 2,800 and 4,000 euros brutto per month. And for an MBA, it would be from about 3,500 upwards. And some students have gotten mega high salaries, while others chose to rather do something they love than go for the money. So once again, it really depends on each situation.
Yeah. Okay, we have a lot of questions regarding either the OKP scholarship or full funding. Maybe good to clarify that.
Yes, thank you. So indeed, MSM does not offer full funding. We only have those partial scholarships I mentioned earlier, so up to 40%. And we, so that is something that's important to highlight. However, the Dutch government in the past have offered a few students a full scholarship, and it's something we have not heard anything about this year. So we don't know yet if that scholarship is still going to exist this year. So it is something that we are waiting on. As soon as we know whether they're going to be launching this full scholarship program again, we will obviously inform everyone via campaign. So keep your ear, if you haven't joined, connected, to follow our information, then you wouldn't get it. But if you're interested, then just make sure you have that option checked, because we will immediately inform you if the Dutch government has launched this OKP, this Orange Knowledge Program scholarship. So that's the only full scholarship. Otherwise, I know some countries offer it within their own countries, but that's something you'd have to research yourself. So voilà.
Yeah. All right. We have another question. If the MSM degree is credible to get a job in the UK or Germany?
Yes, definitely. So for those of you that joined a bit later, it's one of the things I started with. MSM is Triple Crown accredited, so you have AMBA accreditation, which is a UK accreditation. It's one of the most important accreditations in the world. But we also have AACSB, which is an American accreditation, and the second, together with AMBA, those are the two big accreditations. And then we also have EQUIS, which is more of a European accreditation. I think it's actually German. So from a Triple Crown accreditation, it's one of the best accreditation for business schools to have in the world. In fact, it's one of the only 1% of business schools actually have that. So it is a very, very important thing to know about. But additionally, we also have NVO accreditation, which is the Dutch accreditation. So if you want to work also in the Netherlands, you're also covered. So with the Triple Crown plus the Dutch accreditation, you can work worldwide.
Right. Another question from Dilshat. If we will visit a fair in Istanbul and if it's possible to apply for a fair discount.
We did visit Istanbul this month. I think one of my colleagues was Inka was in Istanbul, I think October or November. It is a market we enjoy going to. I'm not sure if it's planned in for the spring season, so it might be a bit late. So I'm not sure if we'll be visiting that, but if we get a lot of interest from Istanbul and people saying, yes, please come over, then we might just fly over and meet you in person. Otherwise, we can always organize a Zoom call. That's also another way to do it. And then the fair discount, it's only for some very specific fairs, where it's either Access or QS fairs. So if you are attending one of the Access or QS fairs where we are, then you will be able to get that fair discount.
Right. There is a question about loans, if they are available.
Yes, Prodigy loans.
Yeah, Prodigy loans.
Yeah. So we are not yet on the Prodigy loan list. It's something we've been working on. We're on the waiting list for that. So unfortunately, for the moment, it's not an option yet. Ironically, one of the students from Prodigy is actually in our MBA program this year. So obviously, we'll see what we can do thanks to that. But it's still in the making. So it's not something we can offer yet.
Okay, and Nabil is asking if there is an online or hybrid program.
That is something that we do have an online program, but we are busy revamping that together with the university. So we haven't put it on the market for 2023 yet. So as soon as we have that updated information, Nabil will be able to send that information to you as well. Trust me, as soon as we know all the details, we will be very happy and excited to share it as well.
All right. We also have a question about the application fee, if it can be waived for some students.
Normally, no. We're quite strict on that. What we would do in some very specific cases, but you'd have to contact our admissions office to request this, is we would then, if you get admitted, we would add it onto your application once you've been admitted, like that. There is something we can negotiate, but it's only on a very specific case-by-case basis. So if you do have that specific situation, it is something to then check our admissions office. But like I said, unfortunately, we're quite strict on the application fee. It is something that we require as a baseline for applying to our programs.
Yeah. We did have some questions about the language requirements, mainly if in case they don't get a certificate on time, if they can still apply on conditional application. That's it.
Well, firstly, the good news is we are in November and our applications are open till July. So you do have enough time to get that English certificate. It is, in some cases, it depends on whether you studied in English or not. But in most cases, if you haven't studied in English, it is an absolute requirement. It's a must. It's not us, it's the Dutch government. It's actually to be able to get that visa, you need to have done the IELTS or the TOEFL. In some cases where it was studied in English, but the country isn't recognized as an English-speaking country, or in any case, as not the main language, then we have a solution of getting, for example, the Duolingo instead. And that is only at the discretion of our admissions committee. So you have to go through the interview first, and then they will decide whether you need to do IELTS or TOEFL, or if Duolingo is sufficient. So in those gray areas, it's something that's best to check once again with our admissions office. They can tell you what will be most likely the requirement for you. But if you're not a native English speaker, then I would say expect that you will need to do the English test. Now, if you are have you scheduled for an English test, say now you need to work on that English and you've scheduled your test for 21st of July, but our deadline is 15th of July. In those cases, we'll still do the interview and we'll give a potential conditionally enrolled admissions letter dependent on whether you pass that English test or not. So in that case, we're very flexible.
Right, and due to time, I think this is the last question. If we offer, if we have international partners who offer our programs.
International programs. We have students, we have partners all around the world doing our MBA. So we work a little bit differently in that way. We've got 4 main partners at the moment. We've got one in China, Kuwait, Hungary, and Romania. We have other partnerships that are being set up or developed or doing different programs. In any case, we have partnerships in many different countries. Technically, our students could go to a course there. But generally speaking, we've noticed when students arrive in Maastricht, firstly, it is such an amazing country, city. They don't want to leave. But secondly, because the classroom is so diverse, there's not that real necessity to go elsewhere to experience the international environment, since you get it so strongly within MSM. That being said, because MSM and Maastricht is so centrally located, students really do take the year to go and travel to all the European countries. And every now and then I'll see an Instagram picture of someone in Porto at the moment, or Venice, or going to Spain, getting some sunshine. So the students really do take the year to also enjoy a bit the European lifestyle.
Okay. And do we still have time? I think we are a bit over.
Yes, I think for those that need to leave, they can leave. If there's one more question that's worthwhile, because you seem to be that you've got one.
Yes, we do have one. So from Dilshat, when writing a motivation letter, what should be the structure? So maybe you can tell a bit more about it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we have guidelines on our website. So we don't expect you to know it all. We are there to help you. And once again, this is really my advice throughout the process. At any moment, don't hesitate to reach out to Alina, Inka, or our admissions team. They are there to help you. We know it's a scary process. We know it's a scary decision. Regarding the motivation letter, we have, so in this guidelines, we basically want you to talk about why you want to do this program, so the Master in Management or the MBA, why you want to come do it at MSM, so not just any other business school, why us, and also what you want to do in the future thanks to this degree. So what is this, what are your plans? We also like to look a little bit about just your weaknesses, your strengths, to give a bit of a self-awareness feel to the motivation letter. And then we also ask you to, for example, give some examples of when you were really proud of something you did, or when something was a big challenge and you came and surmounted that. So those are some of the type of examples that you can write about. But the guidelines will really help you in structuring that so that you will feel that you can make it your own with those guidelines. And normally we do recommend that it's about 3 pages. So when it is shorter than that, then we feel that you can still say more.
Okay. Well, we don't have any other questions at the moment. So yeah, we can end it.
Thank you very much, everyone, for having stayed on today then. And thank you for all the amazing questions. I see Alina was very busy today. That's always great to hear. I look forward to maybe meeting some of you in the future. Once again, if you do have any questions, we are there. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Bye.